The FDA proposed a change in how packaged food should be labeled a couple months ago, but as of right now, the finalization and implementation of those new rules has been postponed until April, partly because of a memo from the Oval Office. The proposed change would require more straightforward and visible information as to whether a food has low, high, or moderate levels of added sugar, salt, and saturated fat. The current proposal would require manufacturers to put this label on the front of the package, allowing consumers to quickly assess the healthiness of a food. Originally, the new rules, which were conceived during the Biden administration, were to take effect in February, but for now, the date is being moved to April 28th, which means that some changes could still be made to the requirements or that the Trump administration could scrap the whole thing altogether. The current proposal would also require foods to meet certain criteria before they can feature the word healthy on their package. Now, to qualify as healthy, foods would have to limit the amount of saturated fat, salt, and added sugar, but also contain certain ingredients from a list of foods considered to be healthy, such as vegetables, fruits, eggs, and olive oil, just to name a few. Some fake healthy foods that used to be considered as good for you will no longer be allowed to call themselves healthy, such as sugary cereal, white bread, sweetened yogurt, fruit snacks, snack bars, and sweetened juices, which, come to think, it's kind of surprising that those were ever considered healthy, but, we've made progress. Now, under the current proposal, use of the word healthy would be voluntary, but the front of package summary of salt, sugar, and saturated fat would be required. Now, if this goes through, it'll be the first major change to food labeling standards in 30 years when the current nutrition labels were first rolled out. Now, it probably goes without saying that generally the makers of consumer packaged goods are not particularly supportive of these new requirements. They have spent decades of time and billions of dollars figuring out ways to convince consumers that their foods are healthier than they actually are, and this would confound some of those old tricks. But rest assured, they will find ways to game the system. It reminds me of educators who oppose standardized testing who often warn of the risk of teaching to the test. In other words, focusing on just the few things that will look good on paper while de-emphasizing the bigger picture. And the same thing would likely happen here. Food manufacturers will figure out ways to dress up their numbers in ways that don't significantly increase their production costs. They'll figure out cheap ways of doing the same old while giving the appearance of actually caring about your health. So in other words, you can expect this to result in more of the same old cat and mouse game. And since the industry will find ways to get around the rules, it'll be incumbent upon us to pay attention to know what's going on and make good decisions, which is how things are now, frankly. Now, one could argue with the question as to whether we really need the government to step in and be our health nanny. I wish I could say no, but the fact is, it's obvious that Americans are not paying attention and are not making good decisions, because if we were, we wouldn't have this out-of-control metabolic syndrome that ends up costing all of us, even those of us who stay healthy. The healthcare costs of people who make bad decisions still come back to you and me whether we like it or not, because we not only end up paying for everyone's healthcare one way or another, but we also pay for the subsidies for the junk ingredients that get used in making the junk food in the first place, and then we pay for the environmental impact of those junk ingredients. So they stick it to us coming and going no matter what. So the short answer is, yeah, we apparently do need to make it easier for people to make good decisions in the grocery store. Now, there are already tricks that junk food manufacturers have of packaging their food in ways that make them look healthy when they really aren't. They might give money to a nonprofit that promotes heart health or school nutrition, and that allows them to put a big graphic on their package that says they're a proud partner of some heart charity, or the Kids Eat Healthy initiative, or the Sports and Schools Alliance, or any other thing that makes them look like the good guys making healthy food. Or they can also plaster the word antioxidant or protein on the package in huge bold letters just because they added some insignificant token amount of those things to their food, but it's just a trick. If you don't pay attention, they will mislead you, and it's no joke. diabetes and obesity are out of control, even among children. So don't assume you've outsmarted the system, because chances are it's the other way around. So overall, I think this is a move in the right direction. If consumers generally understand that they should look for the word healthy and ignore things like good source of fiber, then this will help people make better choices. If consumers have a quick and obvious way to see that a food is high in added sugar, they might not be as impressed by the graphic that says, "Proud sponsor of the Kids Eat Healthy initiative." Now, Jim Jones, the FDA's former Deputy Commissioner for Human Foods, remarked that the FDA recognizes that diet-related diseases, including heart disease, cancer, and diabetes, are the leading cause of disability and disease in the United States and contribute to America's status as having the lowest life expectancy amongst large, high-income countries. He went on to say that food labeling can be a powerful tool for change. Jones, by the way, resigned recently out of frustration with the firing of 89 of his key staff. Nancy Brown, Chief Executive Officer of the American Heart Association, also favors the new rules, saying that the updated definition should give consumers more confidence when they see the healthy claim while grocery shopping, and we hope it'll motivate food manufacturers to develop new, healthier products that qualify to use the word healthy. On one hand, this all seems surprisingly enlightened. On the other hand, I have some concerns. At the end of the day, I'd still like to see people take more interest and agency in their food. Nutrition is much more complex than 3 little quantified numbers in a little box in the package. Intimating that the healthiness of a food can be summarized in that way could mislead some people into making less than ideal choices. Some foods will end up sneaking in under the radar, somehow managing to make themselves look healthy when they actually aren't. On the other hand, some foods that have great health benefits but can't quite make the numbers might not be able to call themselves healthy. As far as that healthy label goes, I'm not sure I want the Fed to be the final arbiter as to what qualifies as a healthy ingredient. Nutrition science is just too dynamic and complex. While the Fed can be sluggish and given to industry influence, expediency, and bureaucratic missteps. I tried to not discuss partisan politics on this channel, but certainly nobody who knows me would ever mistake me for an anti-government libertarian. But that being said, I am of the mind that the food pyramid, for example, is hardly more than an industry-funded shell game designed to channel money into the industry at the expense of your health. And that makes it hard for me to have faith that those same players should be trusted with deciding what is or isn't healthy. I also worry about what's often called nutritionism, which is a type of reductionist thinking that only looks at food for its chemical qualities, which can often be misleading or deliberately manipulated. By the definition that the FDA seems to be currently working with, tons of ultra-processed food could and would qualify for the healthy label, and I just can't abide the notion that chemically and mechanically separated and reassembled junk food is healthy, even if it does contain carrots and flax meal and olive oil. The current thinking is that these new rules would flag a lot of ultra-processed junk because most of that stuff is high in salt or added sugar or saturated fat, but that isn't completely reliable or diagnostic, so a lot of fake healthy foods could still slip through the cracks. As I've said before, organic junk is still junk, and it's up to you to know what you're putting in your body. Now, of course, I have to also recognize that we are unlikely to ever live up to the dream world I have in my head, where people take an interest in their food, read the labels, and learn what that information means. I really strongly think that people would be healthier and enjoy life more if they truly engaged with how they ate. But the fact is, most people just want the fastest and easiest thing, and compared to most people, I am an abject nerd. But in light of that, a quick, dirty, and inherently flawed label that can be read in seconds would probably be a good thing for the world, even if it completely ignores things like micronutrients and gut health and social and environmental impacts, and just the important fact that ultra-processed food is pretty much universally unhealthy, even if it meets all of the FDA's requirements. Now, none of this will ever change the fact that your best bet is always going to be to shop the perimeter, read the ingredients, learn how your body works, and God forbid, cook for yourself now and then. You've heard me say it before. The best foods are the ones that don't have an ingredient list, and that advice is perennial. Taken in balance, though, these new labels are probably mostly a move in the right direction, and I hope we start to see them in the weeks and months to come. Got a different perspective? Great, I'd love to hear about it. So please post your silly opinion in the comments. I'd love to see you there. And while you're at it, please do make sure to like and subscribe and do all those things that make it look like this is a good video. It's like the YouTube equivalent of giving the channel a healthy label, and that will enable me to keep making more stuff. But for now, it's time for me to wrap up this video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Ciao.